Okay, so welcome councillors, officers and members of the public to the meeting of the Licensing and Community Safety Committee. Reminder, please switch off your mobile phones. There are members of the press attending potentially. Can I please ask those attending virtually to switch off your microphone to avoid any disruption during the meeting. The meeting is being recorded and will be available in due course on the council YouTube channel. Reminder for councillors, to ensure that those attending virtually can hear the proceedings and for the recording to capture the entire meeting, please ensure that you project your voice and speak clearly. Please remember it's a formal meeting and therefore do not refer to councillors or officers by their first names. There is no fire alarm planned, therefore upon hearing the fire alarm, please leave the building via your nearest marked fire exit and assemble at the top of the top car park. Okay, everyone ready? Yeah. Okay, so if I can have item 1, then apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. Received apologies from Councillors Milton and Denton, and Councillor Hunt will be late to the meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, item 2, to approve as a correct record the minutes of the meeting held on the 10th of December 2024. Anyone needs to say about those? No, if I have a proposer, please, and a seconder. Thank you. All those in favour of approval? Thank you.
Not sure even there.
Say if you want. As long as you read them and they made sense. Yeah. Okay. Items brought forward which in the opinion of the chair should be considered by the meeting as a matter of urgency. I did want to just say one thing. In the absence of a community safety report, we haven't got Tim Butler's with us today. I did just want to briefly mention that all of the Barnstable-based councillors received an email from a local retailer, and also I'm sure people have seen footage online of shoplifting incidents, and there was also an attack on shopkeepers at a shop in Barnstable. Obviously, everyone's taking this incredibly seriously. Responses have been received from Hannah Harrington and Inspector Andy Wills, so they're dealing with certain of those issues. The police are dealing with the shop incident, but I have brought the shoplifting and ASB to the Community Safety Partnership agenda. That's happening on the 25th of April. So just to reassure everyone that these matters are being taken seriously and will be obviously looked into on their merits. We also last week had an antisocial behaviour steering group meeting. Members of the Marks and Spencer staff came, the store manager and some of the regional security guards. They've had similar ASB incidents in Marks and Spencer's as well. So all of this is being taken seriously, will be looked into. Okay, just thought I'd bring that up now. So item 4, declarations of interest.
I've received none, Chair.
Thank you very much. None in the meeting. Thank you. Item 5, to agree the agenda between Part A and Part B. We have no Part B, so I'll just continue on. Item 6, taxi rank review, pages 13 to 46 of your agenda. Report by the lead environmental health officer for commercial regulation, Casey Little. So I'll hand over to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. You'll recall we brought on the 10th of December to that meeting really to discuss taxi ranks. We went out for consultation in respect of the Wilkin rank after the last meeting because there were queries raised by the trade as part of our original consultation, and that largely related to the fact that the curb to that rank was it's grazed that side, and it was a little bit uneven. They were saying they needed to do a U-turn at that location because the majority of their business was further back up the hill in Wilkin, and there were also some concerns about the proximity of the rank to the junction. So there's a few concerns raised, and so we decided to go back out to the trade to do some consultation. So we put a newsletter out to them that you'll see in end of May, and sometimes it's easier to provide some options, and it was quite lengthy in terms of the 11 options, or they could just provide some free field text as to a different preference, and they had to the 6th of January to provide their preference on ranks. And in terms of the comments that come back, You'll see as an appendix B the responses that they made. It wasn't a large response. We had, I think, 8. And then I've summarised those responses in the report for you today, and that is at 4.9. So really, the majority of the taxi drivers wish to remove the ramp on the Esplanade and instead place a new bay, a 4-bay, 24-hour ramp outside of the what's called the barn. It was the red barn. The barn. Those that thinking about
It's appalling you're coming late like this. It's actually appalling.
All the early ones took all the parking spaces.
Too bad.
sense of one. Yeah. If you went out to consultation, those responses are
What the next? Lots of place.
4.9. The majority of the drivers wanted to remove that rank on the Esplanade and instead place a new bay outside of the barn. County Council are supportive of that, and in addition, the drivers felt that they wanted to retain the existing rank of Barton Road, but they were content to amend the timing by way of increasing the current 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. hours. There wasn't any consensus on the timing, but the trade suggestions included 4 till 6, 6 till 6, or 4 till 5 a.m. We've gone to county, and in terms of the map before you, there's a slight amendment. Originally, in your report, you'll note that the hours for the taxi rank were longer, and it is map 19. Originally, county was suggesting the taxi rank from 6 p.m. till 10 a.m. But in light of the fact that the trade were content to end that rank earlier, we've gone back to county, because what we don't want to find ourselves is in a position where we go out for public advertisement that we've actually gone a bit too far. So county are actually content to change that from 4 p.m. to 6 a.m, which will then allow for loading and other activity outside of the taxi rank at those times. So in terms of the amendment, that map 19, I feel that would be a preferable recommendation. Similarly, we had a position where on Castle Street, Councillor York and I was consulting her. We discussed Castle Street, Cross Street, and you'll see another map for you, which is map 4, and you'll see that they're content to make an amendment to that particular rank. So the proposed no waiting at any time, you'll see on the new amended map, there's proposed no waiting 8 till 6 p.m. So in terms of the process now, it's the Local Government Miscellaneous Provisions Act which require us to go on and advertise. And I've spoken to legal, and they're content for us to recommend from this committee on to full council, and then for us to go to advert. If there were any representations to the advert, then it comes back full cycle. If not, then that would be approved. We need to speak to county in terms of tying this process into their traffic regulation order, because obviously it's county that will sign and line the mark and put the markings on the highway. We don't do that as a licensing authority. The reason I'm keen to continue this process and adopt it under the Local Government Miscellaneous Provisions, which some authorities may not do, is that unless you do that, they're not actually defined as formal ranks within the definition of the legislation. So as a licensing officer, if we had an issue with private hire vehicles, let's say, applying for higher on those ranks, we wouldn't be able to enforce that. So I think it is prudent for us to carry on and do the process under local government miscellaneous. But if you look at some of the licensing authorities, they might not do that. And that's the reason why I think it's still prudent to do so. In terms of the process, it's a fairly straightforward advertisement. I think it's a 28-day period, and then the ranks either approved or it comes back in terms of whether there are any consultation responses or representations arising from the advert. I think that probably sums up the changes in terms of the proposal. You'll see a full list of the ranks in the appendix, and obviously in terms of the recommendation 2 and 2.1, 2.11, 2.12. It's just being mindful that those two maps are agreeable by county. Obviously, we're always, as a licensing authority, needing to be in line with the highway authority in what they decide is pertinent to put in a certain area. So even if we felt that something was appropriate, we can only go ahead with a rank in a location, providing the highway authority are content for us to do that, with them being the highway authority and not ourselves. So recommendation 2.1, it's recommended licensing community safety committee consider the responses appendix B received from the taxi trade in response to the consultation on their preference for changes to the Willicombe ranks, and then 2.12, make a recommendation to full council to instruct the lead environmental health officer commercial regulation to advertise proposals for amendment of the Hackney carriage ranks in line with section 63 of the Local Government Miscellaneous Provisions Act, as per those suggestions listed in appendix C and shown on the map at appendix D. And I need to add, obviously, with the 2 amended maps that have been circulated today, firstly in respect of the Barton Road rank, and secondly in respect of that located at Castle Street. So map 4 on Castle Street, and map 19 on the Barton Road, Willicombe. Is that okay, Ben? Okay, that concludes. I'm not sure if you've got any queries, questions.
The Esplanade, the timings on that one, because those were listed incorrectly on our maps, weren't they?
Yes, that's good. So Esplanade.
It's map 2020. Yeah.
Then map 20. Which was then revised on map 19B. Did not revise that map though, actually.
We preempt it.
Arranged in the feedback. So on Castle Street, she said plan updated and attached. Map 4, the Esplanade, she said proposal would match what's currently placed on the disabled basement of the road. This would allow free parking between 6 and 8.
Oh, so it is going to be remaining.
And then Barton Road, she
That's
said
fine then.
happy for these changes and revised plan attached. So yeah, so on the Esplanade, she said the proposal would match what's currently in place on the disabled base further up the road.
Perfect.
On that one, so
Yeah.
that would allow free parking between 6 and 8.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Lovely. Right. Oh, thank you so much for all that effort.
Can we just ask about, when you said advertising, do you mean want a piece of paper on the lamp post where the tax rank's going to be?
Yeah, very, yeah, but through the chair, very good
That's-
question. Yes,
Advertising.
yeah, this is an advert in the local press.
Oh, there's an advertisement in the, not,
Yes,
not
not
on
the
my book, in the
signage,
press.
in the-
These are changing.
Newspaper, and
Right,
it will
okay.
be something along the lines of in the public notice section, and it will say North Devon Council consulting and seeking representations on these changes, and we provide a link to where they could see the full maps if they wanted to, but it will list in Word form what the proposed changes were, and we would then go to county and say, could you provide the distance from the junction? So we say the rank on Barton Road, X number of metres from the junction is proposed to be changed to this location. So you could actually tell from the advert, and if you wanted to see it on mapping, you could, but you could tell very clearly what the changes were in the public notice. And that's a requirement under the local government legislative provisions in that section 63 specifically, expressly includes that.
Okay, so thanks for all the hard work you and the team have put into that and the to and fro in Devon County. Has anybody got any other questions?
I'm actually going to ask how long the whole process takes before it all happens, it all comes into fruition.
As in terms of the marking.
Yes, everything.
I could advise on how long the marking will take, and I know through previous history of putting in place different ranks that sometimes it can take a quite considerable period, and it will depend on their list as to priorities as to what gets marked. So unfortunately, without county here to provide information on that, I wouldn't like to get
Opposite that.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Nothing yet. No, okay, so we're going to vote then on making that recommendation that Katie Nichols takes this to full council. Item 2.1.2 on the agenda with the amendments we've discussed. So can I have a proposer, please? Thank you. And seconder, thank you. And all those in favour, please show. Any against? Any abstentions? Councillor Biederman, you haven't voted.
I'm not on the committee.
Oh,
He's not on the
did
list.
you add yourself to the bottom? I think there's an extra line there somewhere.
I'm going again in a minute if Mr. No one will give Joy a lift. I'm just Joy's driver.
Very wanted and needed, Councillor Biederman.
12 years of on.
Please add your name and sign the list.
No, I've seen because I've changed groups. So
That's correct, councillor Beedens, because you changed groups.
Oh, so you're not actually a member?
Not currently, obviously, as annual council.
Oh,
in
it's lovely
2
to
weeks'
see
time.
you.
Thank you for the lift.
I took a day off work.
Oh, sorry. So according to the vote then, that was unanimous. Okay.
I can't shop anyway.
I could give us some more leaflets.
That was a good fun, Frank. That's a good fun.
Nice of you to visit, Frank.
I didn't realise, so I didn't know.
Right, so that passed. Thank you. See you again. Right, moving on to item 7 then, licensing team verbal update again from Katie Nichols.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I haven't put together a formal report. I just thought it would be a nice opportunity. Had a meeting for some time just to update you on what we've been doing. Licensing have been extremely busy, and I think Richard Fowler came to a fairly recent meeting to update you on Verso, which is our new software that the council had acquired to administer and process licenses. So that has now arrived and we have gone live. Richard's given me a short update in terms of Verso. So those that are interested, we've been live now for some 5 weeks with taxis, just taxis at this point. And he says broadly it's gone very well with amazing take up by the taxi community. We started off with some 490 orphaned records. They're ones where there's no user, to less than 120 now. 75% customers have set up their client accounts to manage their licensing relationship with us online. Naturally, we've had a few teething problems, but as to be expected, we're working with the supplier to resolve those, most affecting the customer service as a priority. We've had some positive feedback from applicants that they're seeing everything in their portal in one place. The licensing team are able to process applications far more efficiently, as the form is populated by the applicant. The fees are paid and required documents uploaded as part of the online application. We're about to receive an update to our public-facing web pages, which will have a fresher, more modern feel, and we're ready starting to review forms for the other areas of licensing. So next in line, we've got Licensing Act and gambling, and we should be revising and looking at those with comments back to the supplier by the end of April, he said. So yeah, that's where we are with Verso. In terms of other updates, you may see in the news a tobacco and vapes bill has been announced. This is licensing the retail sale of tobacco, vaping and nicotine products, and it's fairly encompassing. The list is pretty huge: cigarettes, hand rolling tobacco, cigarette papers, cigars, cigarillos, pipe tobacco, water, pipe tobacco, and it goes on. And they actually also cover all future and emerging nicotine and tobacco products. We're not too sure what this will mean for us as a licensing authority yet. It's fairly clear that from an enforcement perspective, it will be the county council. However, this regime is built on a very similar basis to the Licensing Act 2003 in terms of there being personal and premises licences, and there's going to be some consultation. And what is interesting is it says applications will be made to the licensing authority. However, exact details are unknown at this point and will be subject to consultation. Local authorities are encouraged to highlight lessons from their licensing schemes as part of the consultation process to support the design of the new scheme, including application process. So I place this on the council's risk register because I feel that it's coming our way a little bit like pavement licences ended up with our team. I think that this is coming, and if it does, it will be a significant amount of work. So I have highlighted it to my managers and placed that on the risk register. We'll see, I'll keep you updated, but I just have the feeling that in light of the similarities between these two schemes, you could well see this coming to local authorities. Obviously there will be a fee, but in terms of the extra work and what payments are made if you get a new burden payment, like we do with some other regimes, is a little bit unknown, but it's something in the pipeline, and I'll keep you updated on that. Other news, there's been quite a lot of press that you may have picked up on in terms of some thrust with deregulation on Licensing Act. So perhaps the converse of what I've said, the government, it says, calls last orders on red tape, choking pubs, clubs and restaurants. And it says in a recent article by the Institute of Licensing that pubs, clubs and restaurants are set to be released from what the government described as burdensome red tape, which has stifled businesses as the government backs the British night out. Action includes moves to improve the application of licensing laws and strengthening businesses' competitiveness, giving diners, pub and partygoers more time and more choice to enjoy what British hospitality has to offer. It includes a pilot that could see more alfresco dining and later opening hours in London, as the Mayor of London is granted new call-in powers to review blocked licensing applications in nightlife spots. If successful, this approach could be rolled out to other areas in England. So again, it's a bit of a watch this space. There's been quite a lot of comments from different persons, including Kate Nichols, which always chuckles me with my namesake. She's the Chief Executive of UK Hospitality and National Chair of the Institute of Licensing. We've not met. She says, cutting red tape, improving hospitality's competitive is much needed to unlock our sector's potential to drive socially productive growth and create jobs. So there's a definite move in the Licensing Act world to undertake some deregulation. So that's something to keep an eye on. In terms of workload, we're very busy on animal licensing. We've got a backlog. We've got one animal licensing officer. You'll probably remember some time ago that I explained that it's now a requirement that all our staff inspecting animal license premises have a level 3 EdExcel qualification in undertaking animal inspections. And it is quite an industry in terms of the application form and process, the risk rating. I was looking at one dog breeder the other week, and the inspection is 78 pages long. The list of record keeping requirements for dog breeder is 2.5 sides of A4 in terms of the list that they must keep. So it is quite onerous, not only for the businesses, but for our inspectors. We are experiencing a backlog. We have had complaints in terms of how long it's taking us. I've raised it again with managers in terms of placing this and put it on our risk register. I've also added to our website area where the public can look at pending applications, because it's a public register that we place. But actually, if you wanted to know whether we had received an application or the application was pending, you wouldn't have been able to do that. So we have put a new page on to help these businesses gain a level of transparency about what licence they've made application for, which has gone some way to appease people that are upset about the time period that it's taking to issue a licence. So managers are looking at this in terms of the organisation. It's just to say that it's, you know, we do have a backlog. It's very busy, and actually the fact that you need to be a qualified inspector now is making it more burdensome on local authorities. In terms of other work, we have had some quite high profile applications come across our desk, which have taken quite a significant amount of time, but then nothing has come from them because they've then later been withdrawn. One being an event in Ilfracombe, two events actually. It's going to be marked as two separate events, which was going to be at Ilfracombe Rugby and Football Club, and they've now withdrawn that application, largely because of just the hard work of what we call the Safety Advisory Group, which is a group attended by and coordinated by North Devon Council for large events that would be typically over 500 persons or high risk events. We often do endurance events for things that are harborside or waterside, or where there's certain risks associated with them. And that Safety Advisory Group is attended by the police, the fire authority, it's attended by the highway authority, and it is there as the name's on the tin, solely to provide advice. It has no enforcement powers. It has no power to approve or disapprove an event management plan. It's solely there to provide advice, and it is a very useful partnership or group. And I think a lot of these events then realise actually that to put on an event, they would have to make some changes or to invest more time in terms of their event management plans and so on and so forth. And in this case, that application has been withdrawn. And similarly, we've had other applications for contiguous licensing applications where we've got solicitors involved on both sides. And they are going into the very minutiae detail of certain conditions and certain parts of legislation, and they've had another one withdrawn. Whether it will come to us at a later stage or whether a different application is probable, but these things are taking quite a lot of time, and actually there's no licence granted or there's no committee or whatever. So just to say that those kind of things are happening. We've had some revocations of driver licences undertaken by officers where there's a propensity to speed and drivers are clocking up points and not telling us about the points, 12 points and more, and actually magistrates aren't taking the licences away. And you've been involved with Noel on this one, Alice, where we've had 2 drivers, I think, in recent weeks with licence revoked, and the suitability guidance issued by the Institute of Licensing is far more robust and gives us far more clarity in terms of the expectations on licensing authorities in these types of instances. So, yeah, we've got drivers that are losing licences because of their continued propensity to speed, despite having done speed awareness and being advised before. And we've got an issue with them obviously telling us about points in the first instance. So that's happening. I don't think there's anything else to update you particularly, unless anyone's got any particular areas that they would like information on.
Councillor Williams.
Right, sorry. Can I just go back to the Burstow system?
Yes.
I had a taxi driver who contacted me the other day. I just left work and he called me in the car park. And he said he was having problems using the system. I obviously haven't spoken to him since.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering if there was a blip in the system that you're aware of over the weekend.
Oh, I've only come in today, so not sure on over the weekend particularly. We've had a few different blips, as Richard alluded to. There's definitely been teething problems with it, but I wasn't aware of a particular blip over the weekend, but I can find out more. Our customer services have been very good in offering support to drivers, and obviously we've got certain, depending on the profile of the individual, certain drivers will want more help than others. Some are more conversant with online systems and so on, and we have taken an approach where if someone wants to come in, we can help them, hold their hand in terms of going through the application online. We haven't had a large amount of people wanting to do that. I think the system is quite intuitive and it is fairly simple to utilise. We've done a little video online to show them how to set up an account and so on, but without knowing particularly the issue, it's difficult to comment. I wasn't aware of the weekend blip. So
as I say, I'd say I haven't seen him since because I've not been at work for a couple of days when I do know that. But he obviously said that he felt the system was good. He wasn't criticising the system. It was just he was having difficulty getting in. And obviously he was concerned about the 6 weeks, because I understand there's a 6 week window from they've got to apply within it before their existing it expires.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I mean, there is some case law thing if they've applied in terms of the licence and continuity of the licence. But yeah, we've always sent reminders out, and that's another part of the efficiency of this process. We've always manually sent reminders out. We're not duty bound to do so, but over the years we've always done that because obviously it's someone's livelihood important. And whilst we do offer reminders that you should put it in your diary, it's really important, and they have a badge with their issue like a driver's badge, so they can see that expiry date on the badge. And similarly, there's a repeater plate in the vehicle in the window with a vehicle licence expiry date. We do sometimes have a situation where people do forget or do ring us that day it's due to expire, and we do it's best endeavours to try and get licences out in a short time scale. But yeah, we tend to give. We used to give 2 months, I believe.
Right, thank you for explaining that. And if I do speak to him and find he has got a problem, I'll obviously come back to him again.
Do so. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Norman.
Thank you. You mentioned about backlog with licensing.
Yes.
What length of backlog are we talking about?
6 months.
Okay. And with through your peer groups, is that something that's happening across the country? Or?
I can't comment.
I know we struggle to get staff down here.
I can't comment on other local authorities at the moment. And in terms of that backlog, I think a licence, by the time you've done, if they apply in really good time when they have that initial renewal paperwork coming, the ones that tend to be at that 6 month and the ones that I've just picked up have applied quite close to the expiry of their licence. And depending on the type of licence, it does take quite a considerable period, to do the licence check, B, to do the inspection. It can take a day at least to do an inspection, and sometimes, because it's a star rating, and if they're a previous business, they want to maintain their star rating, and they'll say, I'll get that policy to you. And then you think, well, at what point do you say, no, it's on done? I think we probably need to be a little bit harsher and say, no, you're downgraded now. But actually, we try to be helpful for businesses. If they've gauged a 5-star, really don't want to lose a 5-star, and the part of the star rating is an appeal. So I've just dealt with an appeal where someone has gone from a 5-star down to a 3-star, and they're clearly upset by that. And then it's taken quite a considerable period of time to then deal with that appeal, because that's us at local authority rather than the magistrate's appeal. So it depends largely on when they've applied as to how long things are taking over that expiry. But yeah, the longest are, I've got 6 months.
Chair, do we request a verbal update next few meetings on how this is progressing?
Yes, certainly.
Just a quick, because it is kind of risk there, and
I think it's useful. And then from the point of view of me having raised it, the fact that members are interested in that process, it would be useful.
And nothing, Chair. I mean, we know that the last team do a great job, but there's been a few negative comment, not just the team, turning down or people withdrawing licensing applications, big events. We know that we get such negative publicity on some of the stuff. Have you picked up any underlying negativity about the council being over?
I think there has been sometimes licensing is brought into the mix of social media, so it might have been a planning issue, let's say, and actually it looks like it could have been a licensing enforcement matter, but it wasn't. So sometimes because it's a licensed premises, it can look like licensing were heavy-handed when they weren't, but we had nothing to do with a specific action. So that's something always to be a little bit mindful of. But nothing.
You might need to do some press releases on that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an example of a 6-month delay, or is it quite clear on the website that sort of people need to be?
I think it's raising awareness. So when we do that inspection, say, look, we have got a backlog, we've done these things. I think we're getting better at explaining that. But the last thing we want is people to then complain and then queue jump. And feel that by complaining they're going to get something quicker than if they didn't, because actually we're going to then hit the complaint. So it's quite a delicate one, but I think members need to be mindful and aware, and I want to be transparent and open about where we are with some of these applications, because I've got one officer at the moment, and she's working incredibly hard. We license zoos, and so we've got 3 zoos. And in terms of the complexity of we're getting sometimes a response from a vet that's, let's say, 66 pages long. And it's very high profile information. It takes a long time to go through some of this thing. Hours, I've sat down with the licensing officer supporting her for hours on one particular veterinary response. And it's taking a lot of time, some of the animal licensing. And I think it's worth raising, because it was 2018 that those regulations came into effect, which totally changed the dynamic about animal licensing. To require the inspectors to be qualified by this new qualification, this Edexcel level 3, to bring in the star rating. And also it brought on new premises. Not that we have a high number of those, but it brought online exhibitors, and we've got a number of falconers and that type of operation that now require licensing. They were previously under Devon County Council, so our workload is increasing. Now I think if you looked at the numbers of licensing, you say, well, you haven't got any extra licenses or processing, but the complexity of every area, for example, taxis, we now are doing right to work checks, all of that we never used to do. I think we're doing more checks on each licence area, and the complexity is increasing. So it's worth noting that as well.
Appreciate the update. That's great.
I'm just conscious that unless I come and chat in a fairly informal, and I think it's quite nice sometimes to have an agenda, then you don't really have an idea what we're doing. But there are some interesting cases. We dealt with a dog breeder that had 90 dogs on site, and we had to work to regulate that. And we've had also Hannah, and we gave a warrant, and it is time consuming.
You also mentioned the taxi drivers having their licences revoked. Now, obviously, I'm aware that we've got a subcommittee agenda that we need to approve, and there were 2 drivers there who had their licence suspended. What was the difference between these 2 and the ones that got revoked?
If you recall, in the policy, we made some changes in terms of providing more powers to officers to deal with things where there was clearly a lack of fitness and propriety of an individual. And more decisions will be taken in moving forward by licensing officers because of that policy change. And we've definitely started to use that part of the policy, so it's worth saying. So, and it's quite a stark contrast from where we used to send everything to licensing committee. A, it's more efficient, and B, it's quicker, particularly where, in the interest of public safety, we would require an immediate revocation. Some areas where it's less clear cut or there was exceptional type of circumstances, we wouldn't want to fetter our discretion. We would say, actually, we want to send that to committee because we're not sure where there's a clear lack of fitness and propriety indicated by way of the suitability guidance, which has also been amended and updated. Then we are certainly taking more of those decisions as at officer level. So it will be less burdensome on member services with that approach as well, and more efficient.
Yes, I was just going to say that the October 2024 suitability guidance made some nuances about that, which has affected decision making. So we're following guidance from the Institute of Licensing. So
Great, thank you. And also the other items you mentioned about the change in the tobacco one and the deregulation. Hopefully, I mean, we were going to attend the licensing conference in May, so hopefully those items will come up and there'll be a bit more explanation on those. Yeah.
Did I'll speak to you after on that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? So thank you very much for your report. Very thorough and very interesting. Thank you very much. Or can we just vote to note Katie's report, please? Like, any seconder? Thank you. And all those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Right. Okay. Moving on to item 8, licensing and community safety subcommittees. To consider the approval as a correct record the minutes of the following subcommittee meeting. A, licensing and community safety subcommittee E on the 25th of November 2024, pages 47 to 56 of the agenda. Hope everyone had a chance to scrutinise. Move to approve it. So. Yeah, any seconders, please? Those in favour, approval, please show. And that's unanimous. Thank you. And that's the end. So, and the meeting 11:30. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.